I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, yeah. Baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious, I'ma go cause something, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame, yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad, I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad, do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad, baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life. I don't really know what comes next. I'm just doing my best, even though I'm so stressed out. Everything just feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want. By thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts. Something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this shit. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. Fuck your lies, I'll do what I want.
Whole sports all plays. Yeah. Whole sports all plays. Whole sports talk plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. Sport all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. Whole sports all plays.
Boy, the man, the myth, the legend killer of Dre Montez. All right, man. How you doing, Dre? Can you hear me, Dre?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. I guess I got you running on two different mics here. So, how you doing today, man?
Doing better than good. Better than good. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. Doing great. It's a good time, good place. You know, ain't nothing but like this show on Saturdays, you know.
No, that's right.
Getting the college football game play, getting it all going. So, man, what did surprise you on last Saturday and last Sunday and Monday's game that stood out the most to you on the first week of football?
I mean, we kind of set the tone off with Florida playing Utah. That was I didn't expect the game to go that way. I thought it'd be a lot closer. I didn't think it'd be lopsided the way it was. But the most shocking has to be the response of the Colorado TCU game. But then you go to Monday, and that's another earthquake game. You had Duke, not the basketball team, not the lacrosse team, not the women's soccer team, and not the men's or women's basketball team beat Clemson, but the Duke football team beat Clemson 21-7. Now, if you'd have saw that score and it said 10-7 or 14-10, you'd have blended on a fluke play or referees. But I rewatched that game. They got outplayed. Clemson played the first quarter well. After that, I think Duke realized they lost 4 games, I think by less than 3 points last year. So they have the sense and the sensibility and the want and need to go out there and put points on the board. But the question was, can they hold the lead? Can they come from behind? Do they have that quote unquote it factor in them? And they really showed. And in the Colorado game, it was more about the points on the board. I did not think that Colorado had it in them to put up 45 points. I didn't see that coming with a team that lost 11 games last year and bringing in 86 new players. That's a lot to take in when you don't have a preseason in college football. You don't have it. That first game, that's it. That's live action balls. And you have Travis Hunter going 110 snaps. And you see him in the locker room after the video. I really believe that hip hop song, he doesn't get tired. And he can play basketball. This kid is unbelievable. I think the sky is the limit with Colorado. And I know it's week 1, but I think their week 1 has put more light and shine on any school that has won a national championship trying to win another one. And with all the heat and action about week 0 to week 1, about Caleb Williams, can he be a back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner? All those storylines were gone by Monday night. Come Tuesday, nobody thought about other three-peat, Caleb Williams winning back-to-back Heisman. Nobody thought about that. Now it's about how many wins can Colorado get? How many programs are out of the equation after week 0 and week 1? Not just Florida. Clemson on the hot seat already. These are 2 prevalent schools that are known as a football powerhouse that look like they just forgot how to play the game of football. That's what I got out of last week. And I think this week even more, because now the schedule is getting really full now as we get into the heart of college football season.
Yeah, I agree with you in that respect. I didn't believe Duke. I believe Duke could play with Clemson, but I didn't know Duke could beat Clemson. And I didn't know how bad Clemson really looked either in that game. And the Colorado game, man, it was three or four different things that happened in that game. Was Hunter playing all those snaps, about 120 snaps, total game played on defense and wide receiver. He had a great game on both sides of the ball. That one play that looked like the dude was wide open for TCU, and he just came out and made that great interception out of
Just
nowhere.
came right back and said, "Let me get that."
Yeah, and he just took the ball away from him. But you got to also be impressed by Deion Sanders' son and the quarterback
Shador? Oh
play,
yeah, yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But also, that on top of that, what really surprised me also was how North Carolina defensive line really they only had 17 sacks last year. They had 9 against South Carolina alone. But South Carolina's offensive line, they look kind of suspects too from base what they had last year. But Spencer Rattler got rattled because he got hit 9 times and got sacked 9 times in that game. But also you got to look at what NC State did against UConn. A little bit hard. Elijah, we're going to see how they play when they got to go against Notre Dame, number 10 ranked Notre Dame. We're going to talk about that later on today.
Right.
But I mean, we got to look at some certain things here in that Saturday that really jumped out was that Colorado game. That was unbelievable. I watched from the get go all the way from the start to the finish. I just want to see how he was going to take his son was only a 3-star recruit,
Right.
and nobody hardly touted him. But now he took some of these guys out of the HBU system and showed that he could play in a Power 5 conference.
I think we talked about this last year. Those stars, 1-star, the 2-star, the 3 to 4, the 5-star. Who is that hurting and who is that helping when it comes to that? Because we've seen kids not live up to that rating. Some go way beyond that. The evaluation factor of that. I think they need to be careful with those star ratings on those kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's just reporters. Actual reporters are actually doing that. Is putting the star power into that thing. But I mean, you got to really think about that's somebody's opinion. You don't know what these kids are going to do on the field.
Right, right,
I
exactly.
mean, I could be a 1-star recruit, and then next thing you know, he just blossom out of nowhere. And I can tell you for some instances, like British Brooks, he was a walk on for North Carolina. Now he's a freaking starting tailback for the last 2 years, but he got injured last year. Came back this year, and he's still picking up the pace. What he did, he came on the scene. He busted on the scene against North Carolina State
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago. But he was a walk on. He was like on the 4th man depth chart out of the running backs. But so you can't really tell what's going to happen as the career progresses. So I mean, these star players, everybody's just saying, "Oh yeah, he's a 5-star recruit." We really don't know that because some of them could be a bust, out of that
Yeah,
whole
because
bunch.
sometimes it's the program they're coming from, like the IMG kids, when they get to the next level, the expectation factor of them for the simple fact that they're football U.
Yeah,
That's where it kind of gets at me. And I understand what they're doing to get these conversations going on the rating factor of these kids, the projection of them on their collegiate career. But at the same time, I look at some of these people that are writing these reviews and these evaluations about these players, not one athletic bone in their body. And half of them don't even go out and watching these kids play. They're just watching the highlights off the internet.
yeah. I mean, some of these guys will be like, I know we have a friend here in down the street where he lives from me. His son's got recruits. He's got letters from Florida State all the way down to Miami, all the way down to Missouri and all that. But his dad was a Florida State grad. He was a Florida grad, but he just got, his son is not being recruited by Florida. We can't figure that out. Why Florida doesn't go after some of these Florida recruits around here? I mean, he's great, but the way his father does, his father's put these highlight reels up, and he's got them in different angles on there. So I mean, if you're watching these guys play off just off the internet, you can't base that alone. You got to watch it with your eyes. You got to come to a game. You got to scout
Right.
them and really know what their physicality is. Because game films, you can tell what they can do, but you don't see it in person. You don't see the eye-catching philosophy of what they are doing it in. So I mean,
I want to see the growth. I want to experience all of that.
yeah.
That's one thing I miss about being around, going to high school games a lot, going to some D2, D3, and D1 games when I lived in Carolina. You had an opportunity to go through all that. You saw the growth.
Yeah.
You can actually see that in these players and these kids and these coaches because it's going on both sides, on the field, on the sidelines as well. And I like seeing that whole process of that thing right there.
Yeah, I agree with you too on that aspect of the thing around. But I mean, like what we see this past weekend, it was like incredible. I mean, you had some good games, you had some blowout games. Oregon put up 81 points. You know, they played a cupcake really, but they put
But
up 81 points.
see, some people where they put no matter what, that's still a pig. I don't care if you put lipstick on it or not. And sometimes a lot of these teams do that the first 4 to 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
And then reality hits them in the face. They just full of show. They have no backbone. They just full of show. And then once they get hit in the mouth, they get challenged. It's that uh-oh factor. That's what happened to Clemson. Clemson went in there living off of the name of Dabo Swinney and what Clemson used to could do. But you run up a team that does not give a damn, that's a different breed.
Now, see what Florida State did at LSU on Sunday night.
Brian Kelly looks out-coached, outmatched, and out of place.
Is Florida State the team to beat in the ACC now since you looked at Clemson?
Yeah, Clemson looked like even the body language, the players coming off the field didn't want to even touch coach's hand. You know, that's something they can address in the locker room. I'm quite sure Dabo's going to get on top of that. But the fact that he doesn't believe in the portal, he's believing in his own coaching staff, does not want to adjust to the changing of the times, that has affected coaches in the past. And look where they got them, out of a job, losing top recruits. And now the transfer portal really helps the players as well as the programs they're going to or leaving. And what Florida State pulled off against LSU, the tide is changing in college football. It's no more based on that name anymore. You got to get out here and play because those players are not here anymore. These kids, they don't care about what happened in the 80s and the 90s in college football. That's not on their mind.
True.
They're about them right now. They're about them making a name for themselves at Florida State. And I think Florida State right now can be looked at as that type of school that could possibly move up the chain in the ACC instead of the bottom of the ACC.
That's true too. I mean, that's got to be a little bit of a switch in that category. Let's switch a little bit here. Let's talk about Georgia. Georgia struggled against Middle Tennessee a little bit, but then at the end they pulled away at the end. But his quarterback position, he struggled a little bit. What is your take on Carson Beck and the way the Bulldogs going to rely on their defense more now since the offense is not kicking right now, or is the offense going to gain what the defense is doing right now for Georgia?
The expectations of Georgia is through the roof. Everyone was talking about the three-peat, but after week 0 and week 1 in college football, it's kind of on the back of everybody's mind. Their running back, the commitments to UGA from the running back position is insane what's coming there in the next 2, this year and the next 2 years to follow. What is coming to that school projected is insane at the running back. The only question has been at the quarterback position. That's been the only question there. Everything else, skill set, discipline, the standard, what UGA wants is there offensively, defensively, special teams even kicking butt. But that quarterback position, I think that's the only confidence factor. I think he might pull an old playbook from the days of Hines Ward when he was there. Maybe option a little bit till we find this kid groove. Again, not having a college preseason really hurts the quarterback position that's trying to step into a program, take on a new challenge. And in this case, I think it's a little bit of both. But got great coaches behind him. And again, I think the running back and a little bit trickery on the offensive side is going to save the microscope being put up under the quarterback at UGA.
Yeah, I agree with you too on that aspect of the whole scenario on that thing. So let's let's kind of move right along here. Let's talk about the top 25 here. This has been a dramatic change in the top 25.
You gonna bring us on the screen together? That possible?
You're on the screen. I just can't bring it because you're in Restream. I'm
Oh,
on
okay,
there,
gotcha. All
so
right,
you just won't be able to see the overlays.
okay, gotcha.
But I got you on the screen. If you put it when you watch it on Saturday, you'll see yourself.
Okay.
I gotta get you adjusted here a little bit here. Let me get you adjusted here. There you go. Bring it down a little. There. All right. So yeah. So I mean, this is the top 25 here. Let me see here. I can't. Let me see if I can get to your display here on that. All right, number one, I'll just read it off to you. Number one, Georgia had received 58 votes for Georgia at number one. Number two, Michigan received two. Alabama didn't receive any votes at number three. Number four jumped all the way up. Number four, Florida State received 3 votes at number 4.
Mm-hmm.
At number 5, Ohio State drops from number 4 down to number 5. USC at number 6, Penn State at number 7, Washington at 8. Number 9, Tennessee jumped up to number 9 over the leapfrog Notre Dame at number 10. Texas State at 11. Utah is at 12. 13 is at Oregon. 14 is LSU. 15 is Kansas State. 16 is Oregon State. 17 is North Carolina. Number 18, Oklahoma. Number 19, Wisconsin. Number 20, Ole Miss. Duke jumps into the top 25 at number 21. At number 22, Colorado jumps into the top 25. 23 is Texas A&M stayed there. Tulane stayed at 24, and Clemson drops all the way down to number 25. It went from number 9 to number 25.
I mean, Colorado was unranked, 11 losses. They jumped to 22.
Yes.
They went from 9 to 25.
Clemson
Wow.
did, yes. And Duke was not even ranked. They jumped all the way up to number 21.
Shut the front door. Wow. I'm getting on the phone with somebody. Somebody pick up the phone on the ranking committee here. Come on. Make it make sense.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's
a moving. That's a moving.
That's something that that's something that you got to really think about, man. These
I hope
rankings.
both of those victories, all 3 of those victories, are still talked about 6 weeks from now.
You hope.
Over Clemson, Colorado over TCU, and Florida State over LSU. Those are 3 significant wins right there with some big time schools, big time football programs.
You got to believe that. That's something that you got to believe about. I mean, it's something that's really
anything is possible in the words of Kevin Garnett. The big ticket.
True. That is true right there. So I mean, that's the top 25. So besides Colorado and Duke jumping in there, pretty much stayed a little bit of the same, a little bit of changes. Tennessee leapfrogged up in the top 10 now. Notre Dame leaped up into the top 10 from number 11 to number 10. Penn State stayed the same. USC stayed the same. Ohio State dropped down. Florida State made a big boost from number 10, number 8, all the way up to number 4.
What? In the front? What?
Yeah, last week they were number 8. They jumped all the way up, beat LSU. LSU jumped all the way down from I think they were number 7. They jumped all the way down to number 14. So
you gotta love the rankings, though, especially the early part of the season. They're fun to play with.
All right, Dre, I'm gonna have to read this off to you too. Here, we're gonna move right along to our next one. Is our pick'em. I gotta put you in the thing here. Hold on a second. Gotta go back to one screen up. I forgot to put you in this capture thing here. Copy. Reference. There you go. On live editing. That's what I call it. On live editing. You still saw yourself being popped into a screen that you weren't even in. All right, Dre. You ready?
Yeah.
I have to read these numbers for you, Zach. I have 75 wins. I have 17 losses. You have 67 wins and 25 losses. It's from last week. The two games we don't have in here from last week, well, because we're doing a taping. This is tape, ladies and gentlemen. We had to tape it. Will be it'll be the Thursday night games and the Friday night game. Tonight's game, tomorrow night game, but we'll add it into the total. We already picked them two games from last week, so they will be added into when we recap next week on Saturday. So.
Okay.
So, my friend, we're going to go to our first commercial break. When we come back, we're going to get started to break it down. 16 out of the 83 games that are played on Saturday. So, we'll be right back on the All Sports All Plays Network. This is the College Breakdown. I am Ray. This is Dre. We'll be right back.
All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making up plays. You talking the game, get you to the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. Network. We on top of our game. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays.
This is the Fox D Streaming Network. Register to come on our channel at foxdnetwork.com.
Welcome back to the All Sports All Plays Network. This is the College Breakdown. I am Ray. This is Dre. And we are back here live. Our first game we're going to break down, ladies and gentlemen, will be the 2-0 Vanderbilt Commodores. They're going into Federal Credit Union Stadium in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to play Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, who comes in at 1-0. My friend, what is your take on the Vanderbilt Commodores that are starting the season at 2-0 this year?
Vandy football team has not really risen an eyebrow in a long time. And Wake Forest made some noise the past few years, but now they lost their quarterback. And I saw a little bit of the highlights from what they did last week when they played, but I don't see that joke with that passing game the way they was coming about it. Now, Vandy, maybe they are seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe they are. I don't know if they're taking a page back from when my man used to be there, the left-handed guy that went to the Bears and Broncos. What was his name? The quarterback there. I can't think of his name right now. But if they can go back to that style of Vandy, Vandy was fun to watch. But they kind of took a downslide in football the past few years. I don't know if it's the coaching, the recruiting process, or not believing in the portal, or maybe they're getting the wrong guys in the portal and from the portal. But Vandy has not been the same Vandy what Vandy is capable of doing as far as a football team in the SEC. On the other hand, I was liking what Wake was doing. They were looking good. I never looked at Wake in the form of a football team as much as I know about them in basketball and soccer. But the Wake Forest football team, especially when they had the other quarterback that transferred out, I want to see what they can rebound. I think this would be a good matchup for them going against Vandy to show if they really, really able to just slide on and move on, even though they lost a key component of their team offensively, the quarterback.
Now, this will give Vandy, in my point of view, this will give Vanderbilt a look at a different competition now. They're going to a Power 5 team. They played Hawaii. They played Alabama A&M the first two games. They beat them pretty much pretty good.
handedly.
Uh, but if you look at their offense, stands to be more consistent. But AJ Swan has 5 touchdown passes. The ground game rolled against A&M. The defense has been good enough on third down to get off the field. But Hawaii pushed their secondary a little bit. It was sharp. It kept coming. It ended up with 351 yards total through the air. Called the test of what's coming. Wake Forest was great in his tune-up against Elon, but the running game did not go anywhere and will be completely reliant on the air attack. So Wake Forest has now become a one-dimensional team because they used to have Sam Hartman who got the running game. Now they're lacking the running backs, and now Sam Hartman's transferred out. So now they're going to rely on the quarterback and throwing out the air raid on there. Is that a advantage for Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt's defense now is starting to come around with a little bit of a pass rush. So if they got to rely on they can't do no play action pass, they can't get the running game going. That means Vanderbilt could come in here and eventually tee off on Wake Forest. And can Vanderbilt leave Wake Forest going 3-0?
Yeah, we know that coaches love to watch game film and see what they can see a weak point on and taking advantage of Vandy on. Yeah, the running game is not there, but you can throw some trickery in there. You can have a little fun with it. A delayed run, the option. You can have a whole lot of attempts at trying to establish the running game. But if it's completely gone, like when Florida played Utah, if it's completely gone like that, yes, I can see Vandy having an advantage point when it comes to the defensive side of the ball.
Now I want to ask you this question here. A lot of things that we see about Wake Forest and stuff that slow mash point has now teams picked up on that slow mash because it didn't look like the same Wake Forest offense when that Sam Hartman was doing that slow mash play. As teams starting to pick up on Caldwell's play calling and figuring out how to slow that play mash down a little bit and try to make them now a team that can't run the ball and making them one dimensional. If they can't find a running game here in the next few weeks. Wake Forest could be in a hot heap of trouble this year.
Yeah, that's early in the year. That's why I'm like week 4, week 5, you really get a true testament on what you're going up against. If they're going to get stronger, if they're going to stay stagnant, or maybe this is the beginning of the end. But having that slow little running game the way it's done, he cannot do the same thing that your previous quarterback can do it. I don't think coaches try to do that anymore. Try to have somebody do exactly what the last person did at that position in hopes of thinking you're going to win the game. You got to go more inside of what their skill set is, what they can do. What is he bringing to the team? Maybe he was trying to try that out that first game. And now we're going to build from there. Okay, now I know you can't do that. Let's go to something I know you can do for sure. So maybe you get a different sense of the play calling, but time will tell in the first half of this game for sure.
Yeah, and I look at the over and under in this game is 58.5. Wake Forest is favored by 10.5.
Mm.
They're predicting the score be Wake Forest 38, Vanderbilt 26. So they 12 points there, give or take. If you're looking at the confidence here, the confidence 2.5. Must see watch is 2.5. But this game could turn out as an 11 o'clock game. This is an 11 a.m. game on the ACC network.
Yes, I love early games.
So this is actually going to take place while we're in our last hour on the show this week. So, if you want to go keep it here, we'll keep up a little bit, talk a little bit more until 12. But if you want to watch this game, it's on the ACC network. But right now, and to me, I think Wake Forest has got to tell two tapes here. I think they got to figure out their needs and how they can situate their needs here by getting a running game. And if Wake Forest can't get a running game, their defense is, it's kind of stellar. But again, Vanderbilt can give you a real test if that running game hits plays. You've seen what the passing game did against Hawaii, but then you see the running game came up in the second week. Vanderbilt's got 2 games underneath their belt. Wake Forest only got 1. So now Vandy right now, this is their 3rd game. If they can now put the running game and the passing game together as one, this Vanderbilt team could be a little bit of a dangerous team going into their SEC game. Starting their conference game, they could be getting some momentum here And this big Wake Forest win against Wake Forest could give them a boost of confidence going into the start the SEC. And
Sometimes all the kids need is a little bit of a boost. That's all they need.
so, I mean, do you really see Vanderbilt taking this game here at Wake Forest?
I'm not sold on Wake Forest yet. I'm not sold yet. Having a new quarterback, implement a system or a style with no preseason, but limited practice. Can't do that much as you could do back in the day with your college teams. It's gonna be a close game. I got Vandy winning this one.
Yeah, Vandy winning this one.
Yeah.
So you're gonna pull it, Dre. You pulling with Vandy. I'm gonna go with you too. I think Vandy is starting to come up around a little bit here for people to really to see that thing. I think Wake Forest is going to be a one-dimensional team. I think Vandy's pass rush is going to get into Wake Forest this time because they got no running game to actually slow it up. So this game could be. I'm going with you, Dre, on this one. I think Vanderbilt will take this one. I think Vanderbilt will take a close one, but I think Vandy will pull it out at the end on this one. So, my friend, let's go down here to the next one here. Our next game we're going to be here breaking down will be Ball State Cardinals coming in at 0-1 going against the home team, number 1 ranked Georgia Bulldogs at Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia. Game time's at 12 on the SEC Network. What is your take on how will Georgia's offense come out against Ball State Cardinals?
They should come out firing on all cylinders. Firing also because there's so many questions around what they can do with the ball in the air offensively. We know what they can do with the ball on the ground. Kirby going to have those boys ready to go. But they need to get that confidence in that offensive line, that quarterback. They need to get on the same page with that and execute. That's what anybody's going to be looking for. And Ball State is going to look at this as an advantage to get their defense to get to the quarterback if they try to pass the ball, to make him nervous, to disrupt the atmosphere, so to speak. That's what Ball State is going to try to do early in the game. But I think Georgia needs to come out and play Georgia-style football. If they win the coin flip, take the ball first. Be that ready. Because we already know what the defense can do. There's no need to show us that. That's insane speed. We want to see what the offense can do.
Now, what I'm looking at here when I'm preparing for this game to talk about this game a little bit, my notes here a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Can the Cardinals get the passing game going early? We've seen what Georgia can do on that defensive side. That defense is going to be stellar. I mean, I don't have no problems with the defense. I have a little bit of problem with their offense because they ran the ball not really effectively like they've been doing because, they were called running back U at one time. But Carson Beck, he had a good run. He looked like a little bit more like Stetson Bennett on a run going into the end zone area, what Stetson Bennett used to do last year.
Right.
Carson Beck is a little bit more athletic, I think, in that point, but his accuracy is not there yet. And this is only his third game really starting, his second game starting coming up here this week. So do we see a little bit more from game 1 to game 2? Do we see a little bit more confidence in Carson Beck after he got a hit now in the first game, got the bugs out? Now do we see a little bit of a step up and a progression? If that steps up, then you're going to see. But we need some. To me, I think the wide receiver core needs to step up besides Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers is doing everything for Georgia right now. It was a Brock Bowers show. They just throw a 5-yard pass to him, and he turned it in 15, 16 yards. But, I mean, they got to have some wide receivers step up. What do you want to see from the wide receiver core for Georgia this week?
To give their quarterback some confidence. We got you. We understand because the pressure is really on him. It's really on him. I mean, the three-peat situation, that's a lot to take in. That is a lot to take in. But if he can get a little confidence, not just from his coaches, but from his teammates as well, to let them know, hey, we right here with you, bro. We got you 100%. You're not in this by yourself. You don't need to do everything. We're a team. Let's work as a team. That's the message I would preach to my quarterback right there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that aspect too. I really, really do agree with you on that. But I like to see what I like to see out of this whole thing is I like to see Georgia go back to that running game a little bit, get that established a little bit more, and let Carson Beck come off with the play action pass more than, or if you want to get him started first, throw some easy screens out there, throw some easy passes, some 5 6 yards passes, get his confidence up. Then you can start. His deep ball is not accurate as Stetson Bennett's deep ball was last
It's
year.
going to take some time. It's about timing. You just can't go out there and stretch the field. Like you said, look, little dump here, little dink here, get some tight ends involved, get some motion out that backfield, mix it up a little bit. Look, creative play schemes to call. You don't always have to throw the ball deep, go for the home run. Now, when they get timid, that defense get tired of getting beat on those short passes. Then they're going to move up to the line. Now you got a little bit more of a one-on-one matchup. And then you can take advantage of that and then possibly could throw the ball down the field 20-plus yards.
But I mean, if you look at Carson Beck, he had 294 yards and a touchdown, but he could be a tad crisper. The running game will be our stronger this week. Georgia will get out to a better first quarter than against the Seahawks, against UT Martin. But I mean, it was 17-0 going in just before halftime, and then they came out and exploded.
Yeah.
So I mean that tells you a little bit of something about that. But at the end, Georgia's defense has been stout. I don't think Ball State's going to have anything to move around. The line score over and under is 52.5. Georgia's favored by 42 points.
Yeah, they're going to cover that.
They can give Ball State 6 points. Georgia 47-6 is score. So we're both going to be in consensus with this. You picking Georgia?
God. Let's go, Ugga.
If Ball State pulls up major upset, and this is going to be all college football being up in the
it's
stadium.
all when you lose. It's all when you lose. If you lose early in the year and your strength of schedule is pretty strong, the voters are going to look the other way. It's been proven time in and time again about it's when you lose and who you lose to that counts, especially early in the year. So if Ugga loses this game, as long as they don't go down there and get waxed like 42-10, then there's going to be lots of problems then because they're going to look at the score and the fact they were playing in Athens, Georgia.
Right. Between the hedges.
Between the hedges.
All right, my friend, we're going to move right along here. We're going to jump into Youngstown State versus Ohio State now. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, my friend. This is the Youngstown State Penguins 1-0 going into number 5, Ohio State, the Buckeyes. Ohio State Stadium in Columbus, Ohio. Game time at 12 o'clock on the Big Ten Network. My friend, let me set the stage for this time on this event here, ladies and gentlemen. Ohio State's offense was more slow and sputtering than a high-power fun is supposed to be with that much of NFL talent. Youngstown State obviously can't come close to matching the Buckeyes man for man, but has enough of a defense to keep the struggling if quarterback Kyle McCord isn't sharper, if the running game can't do more. What is your take on Ohio State and their quarterback to replace C.J. Stroud?
It's something about Day. It's something about him that I can't put my hand on it. I don't know if he's up to no good all the time. Is he about to get a lifetime ban from college football? But something is not right with me in the play of the Ohio State. Just something's not right with me with that program. All the expectations of that talent, all of that talent that they have, and the way they're able to recruit in that state and find people to know what they're doing on the gridiron amazes me. But I'm worried about that saying. They look like they don't want to play for coach. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's the fact the game wasn't as big for the players they want it to be, because sometimes it takes a lot for that player to get up for a game or for a team to get up for a game, because some teams go into a situation, they already think they got the game won. But they got to play the game. And I just don't see that enthusiasm and that energy normally affiliated with the Ohio State football team early in the college football season. I'm just not feeling it. Did something happen in the offseason nobody wants to talk about? And we're going to find out through an investigative report. But it doesn't seem like everybody's on the same page at that school. And I know it's early in the year, but usually that's when the Ohio State comes out showboating, dancing, all in the videos and all on the stage. But now they're so complacent with themselves. So I want to know what has happened with that program.
Yeah, if you look at Youngstown State, they played Valparaiso last week. They scored 52 points. They beat them 52-10. Their ground game ran for over 300 yards with big plays after big plays. Can they match with the? I know Valparaiso is no Ohio State defense. Can the Penguins establish that running game and run for 300 and some yards? If they run through 300 some yards against Ohio State, they just need to go ahead and fire the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. They need to take Day and say, hey, look, dude, I don't know what you did here, but can Youngstown State make this a game if they can run the ball against Ohio State's defense?
I would take the approach like App State did when they played Michigan. I would take the approach that Duke did with Clemson. All those big schools that took the matchup for granted. And these schools that no one gives a chance to, they have players on there that are trying to make a name for themselves and get an NIL deal and look at me, mama, I'm on TV. So I think they're going to take every opportunity that they can to put the ball in the end zone. Time of possession will be key for Youngstown State. They don't want to give the Ohio State the ball that much and that often. Minimize the time of possession and I guess field of play. Got to pay attention to that ball is that. But if I am Youngstown State, I'm running the ball down their throat. I'm going to run it down until they stop it. Now, if they come out proving they can stop it, we end up at 3rd and 10 on 2 consecutive possessions, not running the ball well. Now it's time to mix it up, coach. Let's change it up a little bit. They're not coming here to try to shock the world. They're trying to come here to try to play with the Ohio State.
Yeah, and if you look at Ohio State against Indiana, 153 yards of total offense, 1 measly field goal, no concerns, but
that was some yelling in that coach's meeting.
you think they're going to come out and play better offense than this week, but I mean, the Penguins next week. If you look at the Youngstown State, they moving next week. They got Western Kentucky before having to deal with Notre Dame, and it has to be better here. So they got a tough schedule they got a tough schedule against Ohio State. In 2 weeks they got Notre Dame. So I mean they go from this and this and that here for that, but to me, Ohio State's first game against an FCS team since taking down Florida A&M 76-0 in 2023, and the second since beating Youngstown State 43-0 to start the 2008 season. This won't be that bad. That's what they're predicting here. They're over the Youngstown State line. They didn't have anything up over and under with that. They're still coming up trying to figure what it's going to be. But some people are predicting the score to be Ohio State 52, Youngstown State 3. So, who are you taking in this ball game?
I'm taking the Ohio State, but I don't think 3 points is all they're going to put on the board at Youngstown State. I don't know. They're going to put more points on that board because mistakes are going to happen. It's part of the game. Mistakes are a part of the game. Now, if you can overcome those mistakes and put points on the board when the opposing team has a mistake, now we're talking. But I see more than 3 points coming on the board. If they can run the ball like that, even close to it, even get half of that, you don't have to match week-to-week performance each and every time, but give me the effort, I can see the running game being a major factor.
Yeah, I can see that too. But, to me, you're playing in Columbus, Ohio. They should be better than what they were on the road at Indiana. You hope. Their fans hope. So, I mean, I'm going with Ohio State in this one too. The 5th-ranked team should roll in this ball game.
They should.
They should. We didn't say they will, but they should. Anything strange can happen in college football. This time of the
Yes, it
season.
can. Very strange things happen in college football.
Yep, a lot of things can happen. Let's move right along to our next team. Our next team here, ladies and gentlemen, is Delaware. The Blue Hens, 1-0, goes into Happy Valley to play number 7 Penn State Nittany Lions at University Park, Pennsylvania. This is at 12 o'clock on the Peacock. This is on the Peacock. This is on the app of the Peacock, which is owned by NBC. The Blue Hens defense was solid and improved offense that ripped up Stony Brook for 559 yards in a 37-13 win in their opener, but the turnovers kept it from being a whole lot worse. Quarterback Ryan O'Connor threw 2 picks, but he also bombed away for 346 yards with no interception. Ended up with 414 yards passing and press. This will press Penn State secondary that didn't get pushed too hard by West Virginia in a 38-15 win over the Mountaineer last week. Penn State will get what they want through this move on. They have a quarterback now. They said that is much better than what Clifford was a year ago.
Clifford the big red dog.
Penn State never had a real danger against the Mountaineers, and quarterback Drew Haller, Allar, was fantastic. 21 out of 29 for 325 yards and 3 scores. But there was enough explosion with the running game. That's going to be the key for Penn State, is the running game for Penn State. They got a quarterback who can run and pass the football, but they need the running backs to step up. Can the Penn State Nittany Lions find a running game against Delaware, the Blue Hens?
In the days of old school football, I miss old school Penn State style football with the linebacker, the running game, and a gutsy quarterback. That right there to me is Penn State football. And I know the changing of the times has kind of shifted things as far what they're recruiting right now at Penn State and what they want to put out right now. But if Penn State could believe in what they're known for, linebacker put that defense first, then let that offense come in and put a little fuel on the fire as well. I think Penn State could get back, not to the promised land, but get into conversation of Penn State possibly making some noise in their conference.
Now, we haven't touched really too much bases on the playoffs extending out to more teams this year. Does this now give Penn State a good opportunity to make the college playoffs for the first time?
Yeah. I mean, they need this. That program, that's beyond rebuilding what they've been through. The school, the universities, the whole football program has been totally overhauled, new demeanor, new direction. And you can see it in those kids' eyes. They want to get away from what Penn State used to be. They're trying to make a new identity for Penn State. And I think it starts with the communication factor they've been having across the board, which I love and appreciate when schools are trying to rebuild. I love the communication. Open door. Come on, no knock. Just come on in here and talk to me. Keep it open. Everybody have that same philosophy and mentality. And I can see Penn State putting this thing together to actually get in a playoff situation. I can see that happen.
Yeah, I agree with you on that same thing too, what we're talking about here. But also you got to look at what, Penn State's got Illinois coming up next week after this. So if they're looking ahead, the quarterback for Delaware, he put up big numbers last week, I know, against Stony Brook, but still he's capable of picking apart some of these defense. Is Penn State overlooking Delaware and for Illinois for what happened to them last year against Illinois, or is Penn State going to be focused on this game alone?
I would keep it one game at a time. I would pull a playbook out of the words of old baseball manager Jim Leland. Let's keep it one game at a time. Don't look ahead. Don't look behind us. Last week is gone. Let's concentrate on where we're at right now. We know where we're going, but this is the road we have to take by the teams. This week we got this team. This is all this week is about. We're not thinking Illinois. Got to keep it on the task at hand. That's why I believe a lot of teams get in trouble, especially the teams that everyone expects to do well. They don't think about that out of conference game. They don't take it as serious. They don't get up for it. But when you're trying to get back into the vices of the playoff tree, the playoff atmosphere, you got to take your time. You got to read your Randall McNally map. Damn the damn GPS. Go with what you know. One game, 1 week at a time. Minimize the task at hand. Keep it real simple.
I agree with you.
Preparing for 3 and 4 games at one time. Now, Coach, I'm confused now. Just keep it one game at a time.
Yeah, I agree with you in that aspect too. Here for that, I thought they were going to get a better test than what they did against West Virginia. I didn't know how good the Penn State quarterback was going to be. The key spot in that first game was the new no turnovers. They had one penalty, good ball control. Game by halftime, it got up fast, and the timing down a bit more, utilize the ground game, and move on to Illinois and try to unscathed along this way.
One penalty and no turnovers, that is discipline. That is a discipline right there. That's how you do it. I bet the coaches gave out high fives and stickers across the board. No penalties.
No penalties, except for one penalty. Yeah, one penalty.
That's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
But I mean, if you look at this thing here, they got this game coming up, then they got a Big Ten opener against Illinois. It's not going to go to empty the playbook or the intensity, but Penn State needs to come out here and just make a statement. Make a statement where Illinois will turn this game film on and look at it and say, "Oh man, how are we going to get up for this team? How are we going to get up for it?" But you can't overcount the Blue Hens because they will do it early. But can Penn State overcome what they trying to throw at them? Or will the defense getting better than what they did against West Virginia? Because the defense was on par against that West Virginia offense. I mean, West Virginia couldn't get no running game going, couldn't get no passing game going.
It looked awful. Like they just gave up on the game. But even if Penn State jumps in the big league, and let's say they're up 31-3 early in the third quarter, where a game like this in a matchup could get interesting. Because now I'm telling Delaware, we have nothing to lose. Coach, give me them plays you want to play. Let's do those calls we've been working on. Here come the trickery. Here come the not giving up. And now on the other side, Penn State, they're playing so they're not the type of school that wants to run the score up. They're not that type of a program. So they're playing really, really tight football. Not throwing the ball deep down the field, being really safe play calling. Games like that can get you in trouble because now you done lost the momentum of the game.
Yeah.
Because momentum in college basketball and college football is key to the comeback. It is key. That momentum helps those kids.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with you in that thing. The over and under is still not clear yet. They didn't put no over and under in this game either. Penn State, they got them scoring 48. Delaware is going to at least score 10. That's what they're saying. But my confidence is not really up to that par. I don't think Delaware could. If Penn State's defense played like they did against West Virginia, they possibly could get 10, but I don't see them scoring out with West Virginia against Penn State. I'm going with Penn State in this one. Who you're taking in this
lines as well? I mean, the Nittany lines.
So far, we have agreed on every pick so far. But eventually, we will disagree here on a few picks coming up. I promise you that. Let's move right along to our next game, ladies and gentlemen, here. We're going to go to Carter Finley Stadium, where the North Carolina State Wolfpack will host number 10, Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, who are 2-0. NC State comes in at 1-0. My friend, Carter Finley Stadium, they got a new scoreboard. They put it up this soft season. The hype is for the new scoreboard. Supposed to be a big scoreboard. Supposed to be a hype for the crowd. Supposed to be a sellout. My friend, Carter Finley Stadium is a tough place to play if the Wolfpack crowd shows up in full force.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take it from a NC State fan is, It's probably they say it's the toughest place to play. I don't think it's right up there, but it's not one of the toughest places to play. But what can Notre Dame do? And Sam Hartman coming back to the ACC, bringing the Fighting Irish into Wolfpack country.
Hey, Sam looked good with Notre Dame. He looked like he belonged. And the fact he walked on as a captain, he showed his leadership skills in that game. He calmed everybody down. He gave them reassurance. He gave the attaboys. He's doing things as a player coach would do. He's doing things to prepare for the next level. He know that they are watching him. Everything that he does, his body language, his communication, his whole demeanor. He's a total package right now. And I like the transfer in the beginning. I was a little skeptic because they put all the focus on Notre Dame coach, a little bit too much for me. You know, I don't like when they do all that. Just, okay, you hired a coach that has a good pedigree, good belief system, good family values. That's all I need to know. I don't need to know all that other shit. That's irrelevant. And they fell on their face pretty bad last year. So the eyes now are they pretenders this year, that being Notre Dame, the Golden Domers, are they really for real about this thing? Because they have a quarterback right now, I think, is for real about this thing.
Yeah, I agree with you in at a certain point because if you look what they did against Navy, Navy's running game was Lanai. Notre Dame had no problem with that running game, 56-3, and then they turned around and scored another 56-3 over Tennessee State. And now the offense has everything working with Wake Forest transfer quarterback Sam Hartman, and the defense appears to be fully gelled. From Sam Hartman's start, the first two games for Notre Dame, let's talk about that transfer out of Virginia that goes to NC State. He struggled. NC State wasn't humming. Against UConn, they scored 24-14 was the score. The downfield passing game wasn't there with former quarterback Brandon Armstrong taking over. The run defense was surprisingly mediocre. And Notre Dame line will take advantage of all of this.
Yes, they got some big boys. Notre Dame does on the offensive line. So the protection is there as well as the blind side. They got thighs and ass on both ends over there. Then the tight end factor. Notre Dame's starting to put out some great quality tight ends. The receiving core, they got speed and the run game. And what that offense is doing and the belief system in that offense is like they really feel they can put up 40 points a game. For a Notre Dame football team, that's big. And we already know what the defense is capable of doing.
Yeah, and if you look at this too, I know from the Wolfpack, they didn't open up to get by. They just got by the Huskies. But Brendan Armstrong on his defense, he almost ran for 100 yards and 2 scores. And the defense did its part as holding down UConn's running game with a good offensive front. And no, UConn isn't Georgia, but it was still a better test than anything that the Irish deals with the first 2 weeks. And it didn't give away anything to give the home team any help. No turnovers, 1 penalty. The team did what it had to do, but Notre Dame is a different animal you're talking about coming in. And now they're talking about the conference, and Notre Dame is now talking about joining a conference and stuff like that. They're hoping to join the ACC by opening up, bringing Stanford in, Cal, and SMU into the ACC. Is Notre Dame preparing themselves to come into the ACC next year?
Well, we already know Notre Dame is about that money. But I think now they figured out that being independent in college football now, the way the game has changed and evolved, and they want to get in on that action a little bit better than what they've been instead of the outsider looking in or being treated as a special kid in the family. It would make sense for them to join the ACC. It would make sense. I think it would help the ACC, for one, to be the look at me factor, because that'd be a great mix of teams to join the ACC. I'd like that if Notre Dame decides to go there. I think it really makes sense for them to go right there.
Yeah, and if you look at this too, the former Wake Forest quarterback Hartman threw for 400 yards with 2 scores against NC State last year, gave up 3 picks and a loss. He led the way to a win over the Wolfpack in 2021, but he gave up 3 picks in that too. Wake Forest lost a shootout with the 10 under center in 2020, but he was okay. He'll throw 2 interceptions, but the running game will settle things down in the second half as the Irish offensive line will take over. North Carolina State won't be able to take advantage of opportunities, but it will have its chance to take over late. There are a line in this game is 7.5 favored by Notre Dame. 51 and over and under is 51 points. They say Notre Dame is going to win by 6 points, 26-20 in Carlin Stadium. Who do you take in this ball game?
I'm taking the Golden Domers of Notre Dame. Give me Notre Dame.
I agree with you too. I think Notre Dame is going to take this one. I think NC State's got a little bit of problems that they got to figure out. I don't think the first week is going to translate into this week. I think
Right.
NC State is going to take probably about 3 or 4 more games in that belt to get their offense really where they need to be with Brendan Armstrong. That's just my point because Armstrong coming in, he still got to learn the ropes a little bit here, and the new offensive coordinator too for NC State because Tim Beck was the offensive coordinator last year. He went down to Conway, South Carolina, took over the Coastal Carolina, the Chandeliers down there. So
Whoopee.
the terminology a little bit here is still a little bit of work in progress. I think the running game needs to get more effective for NC State, and I don't think they go get that effective against Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame has got a great defensive line who's put the stops on the best running, probably the best running football team in the country in Navy. You know, in that option stuff, they didn't get nothing going for that.
They got nothing going.
So that's my pick there, man. NC State fans, I would go with you this week, but I think the Golden Domers will go into Carterfield Stadium
Yeah.
and pull the upset. Not an upset.
Rudy.
I think it's just going to be a good game, but I think they at the end, Notre Dame's just got a little bit better of offensive line. Running game. All right, my friends. We are going to move right along here. We're going to Colorado. Yeah, make sure that's right. Make sure I don't jump ahead of myself here. Yep. We're going to Nebraska versus number 22 Colorado. Deion Sanders Prime, Coach Prime. That's what he wants to be called. His name is Coach Prime. It's going to be not prime time, but it's a 12 o'clock game on Fox. It's on a Prime network. Matt Rule took over Nebraska this year.
Okay.
Lost their first game. Coach Prime put in his best effort at his first year. Colorado took care of the runner-up last year in TCU. What does Matt Rule have installed for prime time here in this ball game?
As a person that used to root for Nebraska in the days of time I was born in the black shirts, all that history of Nebraska and the Cornhusker fans, everything they have done with that football team has backfired. From the coaches, the upgrades, the recruits, it has not went their way. I want to know what happened out there. What is the message in Nebraska? I mean, where's there's no fear when people play Nebraska. They're not taken seriously at all. I don't know what happened with that program, how it got that bad that fast. What does Matt Rule have to do? What does he even bring into the table? I mean, where is the belief system in him? Like, look at me, look at what I've done, kids. If you listen to me, we can get here. I don't see him talking that way to those kids. So I think it has to be collectively as coaches to get some sense of we can compete in this game. It has to come as a whole from the coaching staff to the players. I just don't see Matt Rule taking over and being the voice of this team in order to get some sense into them to play with a little bit more passion, a little enthusiasm, get back to playing Nebraska-style football. Then on the other hand, Coach Prime, that's a whole different ball of wax. That's 86 new people he brought in there. Changed the whole dynamic of a football program. Again, that's an overused phrase you're going to keep hearing me say. There is no preseason in college football.
Nope.
So this is going off of just talking, film, inter-squad practicing to get to the level you need to be at in order to play this game. I just see Colorado having a bigger hand at this, and I think more weapons are going to be shown because, as Coach Prime said, they coming. Damn, they coming. They here. This game is beyond a sellout. There's no Airbnb. There's no hotels. There's no tickets. You show it.
Folsom Field in Boulder, Colorado. This game is at 12 p.m. What time is that? That's like 9 o'clock. Yeah, that's like 9 o'clock that time, ain't it? Mountain
Over there
West.
for them, it is.
Yeah, it's like 9 o'clock in the morning.
That's
This is gonna be
football
on the
time.
this will be on the Fox Network. Well, my friend, poor Nebraska might not even show up, but Colorado is apparently on its way to winning the college playoffs. Listen, I don't know what this, but that's just something that I saw in one of these reports saying talking about college playoff. But the spot being revolutionary, the Huskers team that collapsed late in a 13-10 loss to Minnesota will wilt by merely dreaming it could compete with the juggernaut in Boulder.
It's just watching that Minnesota game and that Nebraska game was heart-wrenching to see that defense just crumble like that in the secondary. Just that was a hell of a catch by that kid, too. Hell of a catch. Talking about 1 foot down in college is just beautiful. Maybe they ought to change that rule in 5 years since all these kids want to go pro. But back to the matter at hand. Nebraska's not the same anymore. In Colorado, definitely not the Colorado Buffaloes of the days of Charles Johnson. Those days now, and Cordell Stewart, that's not even close to what I saw last week with this team. If Shedeur Sanders goes out there with that same composure and demeanor, this is going to be way more than 500 yards passing. Way more. He could put up some David Klinger type numbers, what he did at the University of Houston, if they keep this up the way they're playing against Shedeur. He did not panic. He was not raffled. He got hit, but he got right back up there and competed, stood in the pocket, got through his reads, did his progressions. He did everything coach told him to do, but in the game, and it turned out in his favor. You do that again, the sky is the limit for as far as points. Now, Colorado is that team that will run the score up on you. I mean, they will. They will run the score up on you. So Nebraska definitely has to be careful of that factor there.
I agree with
out of the building.
I agree with you in that temperament here too about Colorado, but also got to put a little bit of things here in perspective. Nebraska quarterback Jeff Sims, he's no slouch, but he did show flashes of being the playmaker that they need. But Matt Rule's success will come his second year at Nebraska. Usually the second year under Matt Rule in college football, not the NFL, but college football, he has a worse first year and a better second year.
Okay.
Everywhere he's been, like from Temple all the way down to Baylor. First year has been terrible, but the rest of the time, it turns into a winning football program. So Nebraska, you got to wait. You know, it might not be this year for you being the winning football, but you might see some flashes here and there. But when you go into Boulder, Colorado, this team has only won one game last year. They're on the verge. If they win this game, they have now won more games than they had last year.
Wow.
And people were talking, why did Coach Prime fire all their players and brought 86 new players in? He went in there day one. He did not slouch. He did not tell you, are you going to come and play for me? Or you can take yourself and walk out the door.
Yeah.
And he's going to clean house.
Nobody's spot. Don't waste the scholarship, son. Don't do that.
And I like
play ball. No.
I like his mentor. When he came to that day one press conference, I watched it. Day one, he said, "My boys will come up here. They're going to open up doors for the women. They're going inside. They're going to be hospitality. They're going to be businessmen. They have no earrings in their ears, and they're going to be my rules." Even though he wore earrings in his time, he's not letting that go flashy. He's turned into a strictly as a good building young men. That's what exactly his word was.
He's done a lot of great things to open up the eyes to understanding what you need for these kids today. Not just mental health preparation, but understanding the communication factor and knowing what's going on in social media, the distractions, that Instagram, the female side of that. You got to keep these kids in that box, because when they get outside of that box, they're gone. And you done made a promise to these folks, these kids' family members, you're going to take care of their kid while they're at school. And here they are way outside of the box. So I like the way that how he brought certain speakers in to bring that realism to these kids. It's a real world out here no matter what. But if you don't get a grasp on it right now and understand where you at and where you're projected to go, things can get out of hand really fast. If you don't believe me, there are a whole lot of 30 for 30s about this. There's a whole lot of players on a whole lot of these pregame shows that have been down this path. They wish they'd have had that talk from an outside source as well.
Yeah, and I've got some little bit of notes here, for Nebraska. Do you believe that Nebraska will get physical enough to pound away, milk the clock, and keep Shedeur and the offense on the sideline as much as possible? Or do you believe what would happen if Fort Worth was for real and the Buffaloes would be just productive, sharp, and fearless all year?
If Travis Hunter gets the chance to show off his defensive skills for real, it's going to be a long day for Nebraska. A long day.
Now, does he play 100?
He's hungry.
Does he play 120 snaps again this game?
He can play as many as he's allowed to play because the man is hungry. That's why he has that D on his shirt. That's that dog. And Shedeur has an L. You know, these cats, they got that dog inviting them in a whole different way than I've seen. Back in the day, everybody had swagger. But these kids got that dog in them, and you can just see they hungry and want more.
Over and under in this ball game is 59.5. They got Colorado favored by 3. They're predicting the score to be Colorado 34 and Nebraska 27. The confidence level is 4, and a must-see is 4. So they're predicting Colorado to be 4-7. Yeah, 4-7 this year. Can they get off to a fast start and go 2-0 against Nebraska? Who you got in this ball game? You didn't pick them last week. You picked TCU last week.
Yep,
so
I sure did.
I picked Colorado, so I won't get that straight. I picked Colorado to beat TCU.
Yep,
so
sure did.
Are you going now? Are you swinging your way to Colorado now this week?
I haven't seen anything out of Nebraska, and I haven't seen anything out of Nebraska in probably 15 years. So I'm going with Colorado on this one. I don't know what has happened to that program. What was the message? What did Darren Erstad say to these people? What are all the former football players of that program? Why haven't they went back and talked to the football program? Where are they at? Where the Peter brothers at? What is going on? But I got Colorado winning this game.
All right, we're going to go back to our main screen here. We're going to do a little bit of rapid fire right now. Number 12, Utah goes into Baylor to Waco on ESPN at 12 o'clock. Who do you got in this ball game?
Give me Baylor.
You taking the Baylor Bears?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go. I know why you're taking Baylor because Utah beat your Gators, so I'm going with Utah on this one. Troy goes into Manhattan, Kansas. Play number 15 Kansas State on FS1. Who you got?
Give me K-State.
Yeah, I'm taking K-State too. We got one pick, the Baylor. So you can probably pick up a game if Baylor wins. Delaware State goes into Army, West Point at 12 o'clock on CBS Sports Network. Who you got in this ball game?
Well, they've been talking all this hype about the new look Army offense. I want to see what it's all about. Give me Army.
I'm going with the military discipline will come effect in this. Purdue goes into Lane Stadium, Rockin' Sandman at 12 o'clock, ESPN2. Who you got on this game?
Purdue against who?
Virginia Tech, Sandman, Lane Stadium.
Give me Vatech. You're going
to take Vatech? Vatech is trying to go 2-0, but I think Purdue is going to come back and win this ball game. I think they're going to pull the upset at Lane Stadium. Holy Cross will go into Chestnut Hill to play Boston College on ESPN Plus and ACC Extra at 12 o'clock. Who you got in this ball game?
Give me Boston College. I've been to the Hill. Yeah.
You been to Chestnut Hill?
Yes.
I'm going to take Boston College for this win. James Madison will go into Charlottesville, Virginia, play Virginia Cavaliers at 12 o'clock, ESPNU. Does Virginia get back on track after losing to Tennessee last week?
Yes. Give me Virginia in this one. Give me the Cavaliers. Bring out your sword.
I'm gonna take James Madison for the upset in this
Okay.
one. Southern Carolina State versus at Georgia Tech at 1 o'clock ESPN Plus or ACC Extra. Who you got in this ball game?
Give me Georgia Tech, the Yellow Jackets.
I'm taking the Tech. I'm taking the Yellow Jackets in this one. New Hampshire at Central Michigan at 1 o'clock ESPN. This is on ESPN Plus. Who you got in this ball game, my friend?
Since my youngest boy still is up there in Michigan, I'm going with Central Michigan.
Going Central Michigan. I'm going Central Michigan too because New Hampshire I don't know too much about. Eastern Illinois versus Bowling Green at 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus. Who you got, my friend?
Give me Eastern Illinois.
Taking East Illinois. I'm gonna take Bowling Green. This one.
Bowling Green.
All right, my friend. Get down here. Let's get down to business. We're going back into the breakdown. We're going to break down this game here. Does Clemson turn their luck against the South Charleston of Southern, the Buccaneers, also in South Carolina? Who you got in this? What do you look in this take of Clemson? Does Clemson get back on track in this ball game?
I think there's going to be an angry win for Clemson. I think Dabo is going to do things he's not accustomed to doing. We're going to see things out of character. I saw the sportsmanship from his players, not acknowledging the coach when he's trying to up-coach the team and nobody was listening to him. So I think he's going to be yelling in a different way. He's really going to get his message across about penalties, turnovers, and giving up sacks. Those three things will be addressed this week in practice. And I think they're going to try to throw a shutout and really run the score just to get the message off that he's pissed.
I mean, the team we saw against Duke, I don't know if Duke's that good or if this Clemson team is that bad. And this is the baddest team that we have seen.
Hot. They were fast. They were all over the place. But when that second quarter came, I don't know if somebody got hit. Somebody on the sideline, somebody girlfriend up there with his brother on the other team. I don't know. But that first quarter, Clemson looked like old Clemson. It really did. But something happened in that second quarter, and that whole game changed.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too. I don't know exactly what happened in that ball game. I think some of the play. I think Duke just smacked him in the mouth. I think Riley just got out.
The hell out of him.
I think Riley just got outside. A mobile quarterback is probably going to do some damage to this Clemson team this year. I don't know if Clemson is going to be that Clemson team that's year in the past or the quarterback position. You know, look what DJ Ugalea did at Oregon State this past week.
Right.
Now you got Klubnik, who's now was hot last year, coming in, and now starting the season off. He looks dumbfounded. He's overthrown some key receivers. Got into the red zone. They had turnovers galore out of the red zone.
Yes.
It could have been scored. They had fumbles. Turnovers. They got to get that cleaned up if Clemson wants to compete for another ACC title here, because right now Florida State is looking like they might be the team to beat in the ACC. You know, I don't, give my wife a big head yet because she's a Florida State fan, but still, you can't for what they did against LSU and Florida State. Now you're looking at this Clemson team; they're struggling. Turnover is going to be the key, and then Will Shipley. They alternated him and Mustafa off and on too much. I think they should have got Shipley in a little bit more. They had some success in the running game, then they went away with it. They had to go to the passing game. And then the turnovers happened when they fumbled the ball. Mustafa fumbled the ball like twice. So do you see Will Shipley getting the ball more than Mustafa does in future games now?
I think they're going to try to establish something early because losing confidence in the game the way they did in the red zone, I don't think that can happen again. You got to figure a way to up coach when they get in the red zone. You got to up coach that moment and not reflect on what happened last week. I don't know if it was a hostile environment due to the noise because they were playing out of character and somewhere else. And now they're more control of the game in this situation. So if they get back to Dabo's style, I think they're going to still try to pitch a shutout because they're going to try to overplease coach, and he's going to try to overdo it with the play call.
Yeah, I get you on that. I agree with you on that statement there. I don't know exactly what's going on with Clemson. I don't know exactly with Devil. If somebody now they figure people have now caught up with Clemson, and the recruiting is not being as great as it was in the past, or is the
Right.
quarterback, or is that quarterback position really going to be the suspect that turns it in Clemson around? So I mean, they got to get receivers to step up too, and they got to get ball security and less turnovers. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a good game for Clemson to come back and get themselves reinstated a little bit here. But it's still got a lot of questions to answer. I'm going to go with Clemson in this one. Who you got in this ball game?
Yeah, I'm taking Clemson.
We both got Clemson in this ball game here.
We take a little bathroom break, sir.
Yes, sir. Let me get to the commercial break here segment on this one here, right there. I will be.